And welcome back to Adventure Pier Episode 3, Planet Coaster here on UK Theme Parks. And yes, oh my god, we've got a lot to do in this episode. We need to finish off the park, finish off the pier, get it ready for opening. Some details I am going to do kind of off camera, if you will, but some of them you're going to see us whiz through it now. We pick up with the Dragon area. Our Eurofighter coaster and of course our little Witches coaster. We've got this to kind of finish off. We want to do a bit of lighting, as you can see. It's got to look good at night. We're going to have some flashing lights on him, some different colours on him as well, and you know, really sort of set the mood for night time. We needed some more around the Eurofighter. I don't think we need any more around the Witches area, but we are going to kind of highlight the damaged areas here, particularly with rocks falling. Now then, a lot of this you will kind of see as we go. We have got to finish off and particularly recolour the spinning coaster. We need to build a building for food and beverages and just general drinks as well, just on the entrance to the second half of the pier. We need to completely do the middle of the pier in this episode. And I think what we're going to go with, a vintage scheme, a real retro vintage area, as you'd expect to find, as we said, on an old pier. Of course, the Planet Coaster has the vintage pack if you've bought it and paid for it, which we have. So we will be using that to do the middle bit, probably with just 2 rides. So we might end up with just 9 rides here. We want to build kind of the area up here, get all the pathing in, get all that sorted, so we know exactly how much space we have left. Once the pathing's in and the queue lines are in, we can then kind of determine if we've got space for that elusive 10th ride, which we really want. I really wanted 10 rides on this pier. We've got some colouring to do. As you can see, the breakdance is still the wrong colour. As we said, there's loads to do on the spinning mouse still to get that kind of looking with the devastation kind of area. And yeah, just lots and lots to do. Now then, it is a bit longer this episode, bear with us, and we'll have some nice musical. We're going to enjoy some Planet Coaster music in the middle while we change some of it. And of course we've got the lighting to add as well, particularly to the breakdance. As I said, I really want to have the strobe light effect kind of linking in with the program, which you will see at the end. That will be done off camera. That takes quite a long time to kind of put the strobe lighting together. But lots to do. So as you can see, we're pushing on here. I want to get the lighting done. It's very important that the park can operate at night. You know, lots of piers are open until late at night, and they generally look fantastic, flashing lights and LEDs and things like that. So we want to make sure that it can indeed operate at night, kind of safely, and in create a magical environment. As Adventure Pier, we want an Adventure Pier sign, which we're probably going to put in the middle of the pier on the first half of the ride. This is going to be a dark brown colour, as you can expect. It's going to kind of link in with the rest of it, and yeah, there's a lot of building to go around this. We're going to run with 3 trains on it as well. It's not that big, to be honest, and I think it will run absolutely fine. I can just see it spin around there. I know we're in fast speed, but you will see a POV of it later, and you will see it running in the episode 4, our final episode of the park opening. You'll see it at normal pace. Still a little bit to do around here. A few touch-ups here and there, which we'll do along the way as well. But generally, really happy with this area. This is the bit where we're going to need a food outlet, and of course this is the bit that we need to build up. I don't want it kind of underground enclosed, but I do want it certainly a lot better than what it is at the moment. We're probably going to go for a helicopter on this one. We've got a plane crash in the other one, so I think we're going to go for a helicopter crash on this one. A few siren lights and other bits as well, but yeah, certainly the build is going to start on this one. We'll use exactly the same theme as what we've used, and we'll go fairly high. I don't know how high we'll go on this. Probably not as high as the other one, but we'll go fairly high on it. Stick some windows in as well so you can see through, and really kind of add a little bit more detail to this one. As you can see, it's going to look like all the windows are boarded up because, tornado on the way, got to get them all boarded up. We're not going to bother putting glass in. You're just going to have to kind of accept that after a tornado, all the glass is gone. There's no glass anywhere, so these are all open buildings. And up we go. I think here we're going to have the helicopter kind of perched on the side, a little bit more crash in the top. We won't be having a roof on it. It's going to be more crash in the top, and then we'll open this area up for the train to pass through. Again, we might have to alter the track very slightly like we had to on the Eurofighter to kind of get it to go through without hitting the sides, but you know, it's a great thing with Planet Coaster. You know, you can see some of the different pieces we use in some of the slanted pieces, you know, some of the small pieces, some of the rigid pieces, is that you can really create magical gaps for rides and things to go through. This bit across the top here, we're going to have a little platform across there, put a little bit of scenery. It's just going to feel like it's sort of on the ground without being on the ground. Have a roof over the station is the maximum that we're going to go, with the front of it being completely blown out. We're going to put some wooden planks across to kind of support the roof area, and I think we'll have a wing coming out the front. We've got a full plane on the other one, so I think we're going to have a wing kind of hanging out the front of this one. We'll tilt it, we'll get it kind of in motion, and from the inside make sure it's okay, and that is permanently wedged in there. Rest of the plane, who knows where that's gone. Never realised I had flying helicopters. I think that comes with the studio pack, but we want an ordinary helicopter for this one. And we're actually going to use the rear rotor blade on the top, or it's going to be a little bit too big. So we're going to stick the rear rotor blade on the top. You know, it kind of shows that it's been cut down where it hits stuff on the way down. And of course, we're going to build a separate building around that. Again, much like we did with the breakdance. You know, if you want to start angling things when you've got a building in place, you're going to have to start a new building. So we're going to do that to make it look like it's proper wedged in the building. So building up from the sides, we'll use some of the wooden scaffolding that's there. And yeah, you know, we're going to get, you know, a little bit of lighting and things. This will probably be more visible from the ride than what it actually will be from the outside. But, you know, we really want to give the sense, I really want to give the sense of devastation and the sense that, you know, everything has come crashing around and you're in the middle of an absolute wreck, particularly while you're spinning around on a coaster. I mean, you know, the last thing you need when you're spinning around on a coaster is come head to head with a massive crashed helicopter. So we, you know, I really want to get the detail in and get it sort of wedged in and broken and damaged wood, and it's exactly what we're doing here. Now then, that's not quite finished, but we are going to come back to that. We've got a few bits and pieces to do, but we've got to sort out this entrance bit. You know, I want a completely enclosed entrance bit. We're not going to make it too big. We want to put some shops in here. Yeah, probably put shops and the toilets in here. We don't really have kind of vending machines is what I want to be using on the exterior areas. I don't really want shops out and about. So them on the exterior areas is what we'll use. We've got to sort out the path as well at the moment. Although I'm building this path, I'm going to have to sort it out so it's a bit more above ground, because it's a little bit, yeah. Again, where you're using, when you're rising off the ground on Planet Coaster, it's very difficult sometimes to get it looking like the path is in the right place, and it naturally sits on the floor, which is underneath. So I'm going to have to move the path up very slightly, which I'll do shortly. We're going to get a roof on this. We are only putting shops in here. We're not putting any massive rides or anything, but we'll leave the gap in the side, obviously, so we can put the shops in like so, fill in the gaps, and then we'll theme this. So this will actually, I think, be an extension of the vintage area. Although we haven't started the vintage area yet, as you can see, I've themed the sides already, and this will be a nice vintage area. So you'll literally leave the vintage area, you'll turn left, and you'll end up in massive wood pier devastation. You'll turn right, and you'll end up in broken story land, story tale, fairy tale land, and it'll just be really, really different kind of to how you come onto the pier, to how you go for this. Although you'll be able to see the pier, you know, we're not in a theme park, we've not got massive rocks or anything, you'll be able to see the pier. It's just going to be something different when you get to the end. We'll centre this all up. We'll put an Adventure Pier sign up here as well, so that people know they're still kind of thick in the action, and that there are big rides and attractions back here, which they might not be able to see them from the entrance of the park. They're quite well enclosed. You know, even the Eurofighter is quite well enclosed, and even if you get sense that there's a roller coaster there, you're not going to be able to see everything that's going on. So we've got a little bit of building to do around here. We are going to have to finish this one off. I've kind of started it, but we're going to build around the outside now. We're going to leave you with some Planet Coaster music while we build up, and kind of you see the theme appear across the Wild Mouse ride. Welcome back. I hope you can really see how this has really taken a turn now. This is really sort of coming into its own as we had the queue line down the side there. I think many may have thought that we could have snuck a ride in there, but we really can't. We've got to have a queue for this. And you'll see kind of the extra we put on top, and you know, we really kind of wanted to highlight that it was part of a building and was, you know, it was kind of a used building. It had bits and pieces in there, and it had roof terraces and everything like that. So you've got some scenery up the top, you've got some walls around the side, and you've got some broken bits, and that's pretty much complete, to be honest with you. This is our central hub here, which you can see. I have got to sort out the pass very, very shortly. But of course, we are a pier, so we need to put some railings around. Now, fortunately, there are some perfect railings for this, and we are going to keep them blue, and we are going to go across now and go around the outskirts of the pier. Because although there's buildings here, you know, you even when there are buildings, you come across a pier, you will have railings go around the outside. They're never very big, to be honest. You know, they're kind of like, always get these signs, please do not jump off the pier or anything like that. And you know, if you do, you're a bit of a wally, to be honest with you. So please don't jump off the pier. Here are the railings kind of holding you in. Yeah, the rock will go through that quite nicely. You know, the top spin there, yeah, sits really well right at the edge of the pier. And we'll keep this consistent around the pier edge, and we'll just get the top half enclosed now, which I think just looks perfect. And you know, it reminds you that you're on a pier, having the railings around the outside, just a small railing area. We're going to connect up the top spin, and we're going to connect up paragliders. As I said, no theme for the paragliders. This is how it's going to look. This is how it's going to be. But we are going to need a little bit of a theme to the top spin. The top spin is right on the edge of the pier, so we definitely want to do something with it. So we're gonna blacken it out slightly, and of course we want to add water fountains. I find it quite staggering that there is actually water there, but no water fountains. So we're going to add some water fountains in. Once we've got some, we're going to go for the Oriental kind of theme on this one. Oriental dragons staying in with the fairy tale stuff. And we're probably going to put some rocks around the outside to kind of, you know, really spice it up a bit and mix it in a bit with the scenery as well, make it not look like it's just hanging off the end of a pier. We'll go for quite a long cycle on this, with of course the drop at the end, the hanging at the end, as you'd expect from your top spin, so you can get wet. We'll get the fountains in. We're going to get the fountains programmed as well for the right time, and get the riders wet as they come down. But yeah, love the fact that there's a you know, a good looking top spin on here. Get some fences in across the front. We don't want anyone going into the ride area, do we? We'll get some lights in there as well, some nice Oriental lights, and just again look really kind of different while still looking a little bit fairy tale-y at the same time. You know, little details, of course, bins, benches. We're going to have to hire some stuff at some point as well. And the Princess Flyer. So this will be the Princess Flyer. As I said, no theme. It'll be nice and open from the other end of the pier. This will be kind of the key ride you see raising into the air and, you know, going some with its guests screaming and shouting on it as well. We're going to have a few vending machines, as we said, going around. I don't really want you know, the big shops out and about. We'll just stick a few vending machines in, and we'll stick everything else inside a building as well. We're going to build probably a little diner area down the bottom, which we're going to have some in, and of course we've got a massive entrance area which has got enough room for 4 facilities. When you staff building, we need to finish off the front of this, because this is what people will see from the upper end. So, you know, as they walk up, this is what they see. Now then, I've just, as you can see off camera there, I've just realigned the path slightly, so they are actually above the ground. It does look a bit weird when people were walking across them. It did look very, very odd, to be honest with you. And it is a bit of a pain getting the shops in, because they're all part of the scenery. So it just takes a little bit of time to sort of fit them, which is a little bit frustrating. Very fiddly to get it in the right place, but we do get them in. So these are little games introducing the vintage World Fairs packs. One or the other, I can't remember which one it was now. It was a couple of little games. You've got a little claw machines, you've got kind of little candy machines, you know, and they're great. They're great little fillers. They're great little money earners as well if you're on a scenario. Obviously we're in Sandbox, but if you're on a scenario, they're great little money earners for that. And of course we want to put some bunting down, because you know, at the end of the day, it's a vintage area. It's a vintage theme park area, and, you know, a little bit of scenery going between. We don't want any shops down here. We don't want anything too heavy down here. So yeah, we're gonna have a little bunting across there as well. We've got some good lighting, some good mood lighting. We'll put some benches down here so people can kind of stop and rest and, you know, look out to sea. And we're going with floodlights and very different kind of lighting, but, you know, just really retro sort of look up. And now, of course, the middle part. Completely forgot about the middle part. Well, we didn't forget about it, but we've kind of left it till last. We're going to have a little bit of a rock edge here, but you'll see what we're going to do here. This is going to be sort of the real focal point. This is the iconic point of the park. We want to make sure not too much hangs off the edge, so we'll just bring these rocks in. And this is where we're going to put our Adventure Pier sign, and we're going to put a ride in front of it. I had considered perhaps putting a little junior roller coaster in here, but you know, the junior roller coaster is particularly so long that I've decided that it's just not worth doing. So we're actually going to put an American Whip. I mean, what state's vintage more than an American Whip? And we're literally going to have one ride either side. That's it. We're going to have a classic grass cutter twister. Grass cutter, for those that don't know, is kind of the term where, you know, most of the sizzlers and twisters you see of the modern day have the big bases to them, have the big metal bases, and you kind of climb on board and go there. The really old style ones, like you see there, literally have the mechanics and everything else is over the grass, or in this case over the woods. So that's where the term grass cutter comes from. And you know, if you go back a long time, and you know, if you go to like Carter's Steam Fair or something like that, they're the kind of ones that you'll see. There are still a few others traveling the country as well. We've been on a couple this year. Actually, check back on the channel. You can see the ones we've been on at Burnett's, and you can also see the ones that we've been on at Shayla's as well. So there are some cracking examples around of that. We're going to go through the diner there, very quick diner, and of course we need to get the path back down to the entrance area. So the people desperate for the pier to open. It's not built yet, guys. You're going to have to wait. You can't come. So of course we need to finish off this diner. As you can see now, we're going to put the roof on it. It's not going to be like a sit-down diner and have loads and loads of shops in there, because the entrance area, which you can see over the back now, has got most of the shops. So it's actually going to be home to the staff building and probably toilets, and just sort of a little, you know, a little walkthrough for them to get in. We put an information one in there, but we'll have to change that because we're not actually going to run fast track, so it does seem a bit silly having it in there. We'll change that one shortly to something else. But we'll get the roof on, get it all in place, add a little bit of decoration to the front. We'll still call it a diner because that's kind of what it's going to look like. We've popped a sign on the front. It's funny because you can, with this, obviously you can see we've got the, we've put the illumination sign, picture sign on the front. There's not really a picture for a diner, so we're gonna have to go a little bit more basic. And one thing I really wish is you could change the size of it. I understand it sort of fits in, but you're right, diner, and it's just tinier. You know, I'd love it in kind of big, right in across, rather than the tiny little one that we've got there. But what can we do? We can't do absolutely anything about it, sadly. So onwards and upwards, we're going to just put some little signs down the side. You know, we've got some fries and some hot dogs and burgers and sodas. Some of them will be neon ones, some of them will shine up at night, and some of them will just be kind of for the daytime. So we'll have a bit of a selection on there as well. Now then, we were just checking some signs here to see whether or not there's anything for the twister. There's not actually anything for the twister, so we're going to have to think a little bit more outside the box on this one. Same with the American Whip. These are sort of for the big ones. The decision's been made that we're not going to do that one. The Ghostbusters pack, that's going to come soon. We are going to build a Ghostbusters ride coming soon. That's a brand new pack released by Planet Coaster not that long ago, but it's not something for the pier. Now, as you can see with the Adventure Pier, again, you know, with the kind of the vintage Wells Fair pack, we got lovely little light up ones. So that's exactly what we're going to put in. We're going to spell Adventure Pier across there in kind of you know, different style, if you will, left and right writing, and make it really look like it's you know, part of it. We'll put a little sign at the end, something a little bit different. We're going to stick some hand arrows on there to point down at the Adventure Pier so people are looking in the right place, as I'm sure they are. And of course we will put some lights in as well so you can see them at night, but we'll do that off. We have got to finish around the pier because obviously it is a pier, and you know, this one hasn't really got any buildings right to the edge, so it's really important we get the railings on it, and indeed continue them down the side here, because we decided to turn railings off for the paths. I don't really like them on, to be honest, and you know, again, on a pier you wouldn't have paths as such, you'd be able to walk anywhere. Whilst it's not so easy to just make people walk anywhere on this, you know, take the railings off and it just makes it look a little bit more kind of realistic, dare I say the word realistic. But we'll get the fence panels in around the outside, get the railings up, and then we're ready to go with the little bit of theme. We're not going to theme this too much, to be honest with you. We're not going to theme it too much. We're going to put a couple of you know, really retro looking bits and pieces. It's not a very straight path, so it makes this very difficult to actually build very straight. But we won't build it very straight, it's fine. It doesn't need to be absolutely perfect. We'll put an archway in for the entrance, match it up around the outside, put some benches in so people can sit and rest, and obviously some bins. I always forget the bins, but people always end up trashing the place and putting loads of stuff everywhere, so we are going to have to put some bins in. We're going to make it look like sort of a steam powered one by having that in the middle, and then we'll have a little display area here as well, you know, a real retro sort of piano thing. And we're going to have the band playing. Why wouldn't we have the band playing? When you get off the ride, you'll be able to experience the band playing. And yeah, we're going to put some lights and floodlights on them as well for when you kind of get off the ride, and that's what you'll see. Now then, we're going to have a nice funky entrance, I think, to the Twister ride. Nice little clown. We like a bit of clown, and we'll have the vintage across there as well. We'll have to remove one of those actually to put the exit in, and we're just going to put some plants around, just some bedding plants, nothing too strenuous. There we go. There we go, just brighten up the place a bit. As I said, you know, the vintage, when you go to vintage retro fairs, they're very rarely heavily themed. Even in theme park areas, they're very rarely heavily themed. And whilst we have seen some good themed ones, you know, again, we're going on the basis that we are a pier, so we're sort of, you know, in the middle of, are we a theme park, are we a pier? We want a bit of scenery, but we don't want complete scenery. We want a bit of everything on here. So this is what we've gone for. You know, the Adventure Pier sign is going to really stand out, particularly stand out at night. We're going to put some lighting on this as well. We're going to put some posts around and stick some floodlights down so this lights up at night. These have all got some amazing lights. One thing Planet Coaster does really well is the lights. They're just amazing on the lights. You know, the LEDs which they put on the rides, and you know, the colours that you can have and the brightness, it's just brilliant. And we're going to go for the classic Super Twist. Really sort of retro Super Twist. And that's what we're going to go for. So here you see we're putting the lights in now. We're going to keep it very simple, and you'll see that as it comes back. And of course we need an entrance to the pier. Now we did cut the pier off, and we're going to have to raise up, bring it down to the entrance here, cut these back a little bit, and of course put the rest of the railings in. And we just want to build a little bit of an entrance. You know, a lot of the piers do have just an archway, to be honest. They don't really have a big entrance, but we are going to kind of have, or try and have, a big entrance. And I think I'm just going to put a little bit, you know, a couple of little, you know, welcome things there, but I think I want to put a fairly big entrance at the start here to kind of not only enclose the entrance bit to the pier, but really sort of cement that you're here and, you know, you're paying to get in rather than just walking through a massive archway. So we're going to get this built very similar style to the you know, retro feel which you see when you come on now. I love this set. This set is great. The way you got the edges and you got, you know, the kind of windows, and you can see you can go, you know, sort of all ridges at the top, and you've got these wonderful little additions as well as you go around. And yeah, I just love it. I love this set. It's one of my favourite sets that Planet Coaster have come up with. Although we haven't used the Ghostbusters set yet, we have heard that's absolutely amazing, and as I said, we will use that in our next park to kind of showcase probably a ghost story. And that is a great view, by the way. That has a great view there of looking back over the pier, you know, from a high distance, and you won't be able to see any of it when you walk in. When you walk through, you won't be able to see any of it, which is great, absolutely great. It's exactly how we want it. Here we're going to put the roof on, nothing too strenuous. We'll have it kind of mixed in a little bit as well so people can you know, see a flat roof as they come in. It's just going to look, I just can't wait. I just genuinely can't wait for it to open now. I mean, it's not long. We literally got to finish this off. We've got a bit of ride testing to do. I'll do the ride testing sort of off camera, and then we'll be ready to open it. I'm debating at the moment whether or not I'm going to have to limit the amount of guests that come in, because I know what Planet Coaster can be like. You open new rides and it just turns utter carnage. So I have a feeling that there's going to be thousands of people trying to get onto this little pier, and it might cause a few problems. So I'm going to have a little look at that. I'm going to have a little think and just see what's best. But yeah, here we go. Just a retro look to the pier. You know, where am I? What am I doing? Here I am. I just love it. Absolutely love it. It's just very, very simple. Now then, one thing we have got to do, yeah, as you may be aware, it is a pier. And of course the pier is over water. Now there is no easy way. One thing I loved about Roller Coaster Tycoon, you could literally go 100 squares by 100 squares and just drop it, just completely drop it. It's not so easy to do in Planet Coaster because of the terrain tools are so in depth, and they are really, really good. Don't get me wrong, they are amazing what you can do with them. It's going to take a little bit of time to have a bit of water, and it will slow the game up as well, because the water bitmaps which you see on the screen do really, really slow the game up. But we want a pier, so we've got to have water underneath, and of course we've got to make it look like it's scaffolded to the bottom. And that's what we're going to do now. So here comes the start of that, and whilst it's doing that, we're going to leave you with some Planet Coaster music. Right, okay, as you can see, we've lowered the platforms, and you can see obviously, you know, from roller coasters as well, kind of how deep the supports have to go, and you know, for the rides. And as we turn around here and we go down the side of here, you'll see the massive supports that the top spin has, and some of the different colors and things. It's just fascinating to look at. But of course we need to make it look like it is being scaffolded to the floor. Now, for all intents and purposes, it's not going to be scaffolded to the floor because you're not going to see it, and it's an incredible waste of time. As you can probably see here, these pieces unfortunately don't snap into position. No matter how you set them, they don't snap into position. So they have all got to be done individually, and going around the pier, yeah, it is really quite difficult to actually do that. But we are going to get it done. We're going to get some water in, and then all of a sudden the pier is going to be, wow, it's not going to be far from opening, is it? There'll be a few tweaks which I do offline to move things in here. As you can see, we're going to remove those supports because they hang off the end. And yeah, just amazing. And there we go, standing water in. How does that look? Well, underneath, as you can see, you know, you won't go underneath to look at the supports. but certainly around the edges. I just can't believe how well this has turned out. You know, genuinely, it's a shame you can't just have a water bit mat all around the outside, even if it's static. But, you know, from close up, this is the pier. This is the pier. This is how it looks. We're gonna get some staff in. We've got a few bits to do as well. What do you think? How do you think this has come together in the last half an hour? Believe it or not, this is nearly 11 hours of build. 11 hours of build have gone into this adventure pier, which I just find staggering because there's really nothing to it. You know, you look at some of the amazing creations on Planet Coaster, I just wonder how people do them and how people have the patience or even the time to do them, because it's just quite incredible. But how do you think this has come on in this third episode as we prepare for opening in the next episode? Adventure Pier is nearly ready. As you can see here, we're going to open, people are going to start walking on, and in next episode we're going to see exactly where they head and indeed how happy they are. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Adventure Pier, Planet Coaster here on UK Theme Parks, and we'll join you for the next one where the park will be open and operational.